What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at Irving Plaza. It is the final night of the tour. We are here with Dan of TesseracT. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Everybody's been going crazy over your latest record, Sonder. How has the recording for it and the reception been so far in just 2 months?
The recording process was pretty sporadic, actually. We started recording ideas around about a year and a half ago, small little seeds of around about 30 seconds to a minute long, which was quite a different process for us. Normally in the past, Ackle, the main songwriter and producer, would just produce mass bodies of instrumentals and send them to myself to do my bit too. This time around we've had a much more cohesive process where everyone from the very starting point has had access to and input on songs. So for example, James, our second guitarist, started to write various ideas. The bassist wrote ideas, same with Jay and myself, and I think that's just made it's helped contribute to a very well-rounded and cohesive album. We hope to do more of that in the future as well. It's been a very new process for us. And in terms of how the songs have been received live, there's been a noticeable difference. When we released Polaris 3 years ago, we came to the States straight away and toured on the back of that release. And I think it took people a year to really get to know the songs and get behind it. So there weren't a lot of people singing along to start with. However, with Sonder, a noticeable change, like people are singing the songs straight away. Which is crazy, and we're noticing that we're having a lot more first timers turn up to shows. I've been actively asking the audience to participate during the show and to let us know if it's their first time or not, so we can see what's happening in the room and how many people are returning. And it's the same with the VIPs that we have. A lot of people like to come back a second time or a third time and say hi, but again, a lot of first timers. It's just been really well received, and there's a definite buzz around the record for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of in a way brought up my next question, because in terms of a conceptual level, was Sonder meant to be kind of like a follow-up to Polaris, or did you want this record to kind of stand out in its own entity by doing all these new elements?
Polaris was very much an experiment. It was my reintroduction to the band. I'd been away for a few years and come back a much different singer, a much different songwriter. So, being apart from the guys and coming back in, we didn't approach that album conceptually at all, really. It was very much a body of individual songs, which worked well. It was a good way of us diversifying and experimenting with different sounds and tones and different approaches. But this time around, sorry, what was the question again?
If it was conceptually meant to be like a follow-up.
It was, yeah, sorry, I apologise.
No.
It's the last show, I'm a little bit tired.
Yeah.
I'm mustering up the energy to get through this. So, it was meant to be a conceptual album. Again, in the past, it's the lyrical content and the conceptual content and the music have been very different things. I would say that not everyone in the band would be able to tell you what the concept to even Altered State is. It's been that kind of a separate process, whereas this time around I was very keen to get everyone involved from the very first moment of writing a seed. Let's attach an idea to it, an image, a thought, an emotion, a general idea of what we want to talk about. And so from the very first point of writing songs, everyone has understood what we're trying to achieve with the music. So I think that's really that's really helped to diversify the process as well. But the concept behind Sonder is quite interesting. It's become quite it's a very popular word, Sonder, and in fact it isn't an official word per se. It's a coined word by a gentleman called John Koenig, who is it's neologism. It's the creation of the coining of new words.
Yeah.
And he is very beautifully putting together a whole body or dictionary, or the dictionary of obscure sorrows is his body of work, and he's taking ineffable emotions and thoughts and giving them a name. So, for example, if you go to his website and check out, there's a whole body of different words. One of them is a word to describe the way you feel when you realise that the photo you're taking has been taken a million times before by somebody else, and how that makes you feel. There's a definite, that's a thing.
Yeah.
But Sonder, I mean, I came across the word about 2 years ago. It was on Twitter, and there was like this awesome cityscape picture that was attached to it, and it's the realization that the people around you are living a life which is equally as complex and vivid as your own. That's the actual his definition of it, and I find that's a very interesting idea, because I remember when I first toured ever, it was in Japan, which was a real eye-opener for me. And I remember walking through the iconic busy Shibuya crossroads, where you've got hundreds of people crossing at once, and you've got that busy nightlife and all the lights and the vibes and the sounds. And I remember just looking around at people and thinking, I'm a much smaller part in a much bigger story.
Yeah.
And it's like thinking, I wonder what that lady's been doing today. I wonder where he's going. Because no one ever sleeps in Japan, so it's quite quite a crazy.
Nobody
place.
Ever sleeps here either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, in the big cities.
Yeah, that's why I think the new songs are going to be so well received.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it can make you feel one of two ways: either very insignificant or actually empowered. It can make you feel insignificant in the respect that you are less important, because we all live very selfishly at times, whether we want to admit it or not. We live through two eyes, one consciousness. We make decisions to better ourselves all the time. So we are quite selfish individuals. But then if you look at, like the very microscopic in life, microorganisms, fauna, flora, mass bodies of land, the earth, the moon, the planets, the solar system, galaxies, and the universe, and the further and further you go, actually the more significant we become, because if you think about it, we're actually quite incredible beings to even have existence and be alive.
Yeah.
So twofold, really. It can make you go one of two ways.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, like, in the universe that we live in, we are like one small thing, but we're able to do so much. We're the only species that is able to go outside our own and explore the minds of others.
We are basically the germs of the universe.
Yeah, pretty much. and I think the greatest germs is ourselves. We are our greatest enemy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one thing I was always curious about with TesseracT, especially with this newer record, is I was noticed that you have songs that vary from like 3 minutes to songs that are like 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So in the eyes of TesseracT, how do you guys know when a song is done?
It's very much a feel thing, I guess. We're very aware that the album is slightly shorter than most albums. But when we listened to it as a whole, we felt that it was a complete piece of art, if you like.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly, yeah. And a lot of people fall into the trap of expecting too much. And like I say, we definitely feel like it is, quality over quantity. That being said, that's not to say that the next album may not be a 90-minute massive opus, thing.
Yeah.
It's just whatever happens. We're a very forward-thinking, experimental and creative band, and as individuals as well. We all listen to a wide variety of music and have our own setups. So we all write music by ourselves. We all produce our own instruments. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's interesting. I think we will always do what we want to do.
Absolutely, as you should. And I could tell, because your music is so experimental, I was able to tell trying new things for these guys is never an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you mentioned that, Polaris was actually your comeback record after taking a break from the band. When you rejoined TesseracT, was it like a fresh start and a new beginning? Or was it more or less kind of picking up where you left off?
I'd say a bit of both. In one respect, we never stopped talking. We never stopped being friends. You have to understand that when I was in the band and we released the first album, we did a lot of firsts together. Yeah. So we toured in a small little van around the States for the first time. We saw all the amazing places. We experienced so much together, and in a very confined space. So that makes you a very tight unit and very close friends. And even though we came to a point where things weren't working and we separated, we were still friends. So actually, to come back into the band, it wasn't like this big, awkward elephant in the room weird thing. Yeah. It was like, oh, let's go, let's carry on. We're all in much better places. We know how we all work.
It was kind of like when Jesse rejoined Killswitch Engage. It was kind of like that scenario. Yeah.
And interesting you should say that, because when I was young, and I was like 16, 17, I I loved Kill Switch Engage, and I loved Jesse Leach, and I was like, you know, My Last Serenade, best song ever, you know, that kind of thing. And then when he left, I was mortified. And you know, it's sorry, am I nudging your mic?
No, 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 it's all good.
Yeah, so I can understand how people get attached to a voice, and especially at certain moments in your life, you're experiencing music against personal, you know, experiences. So it becomes trapped in time. So people are naturally going to, you know, love Altered State and not want to hear me singing that stuff. So I completely empathise and I understand with that. But at the same time, that's now my work. That's what I have to do. I have to put my all into that when I'm singing it live on stage. So I get it, you know, it's cool. And you know, I have to look at it from a different angle as well. I've been on 3 of the 4 albums of TesseracT now. So we're all very comfortable. We're very happy. We're already writing for the next record. We've got a great vision. I feel like Sonder is maybe not the best TesseracT album you'll have. I think potentially the next one may be the big album.
Wow, I'm ready to hear that one.
So yeah.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's the last night of the tour. Like, you know, I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
I always feel bad interviewing the last night of the tour.
It's all good, man.
Yeah,
It's
but
fine.
I know that you said you're heading to Switzerland for a festival after this. Is there anything else that you're allowed to talk about, or?
I mean, we're doing some great things. We're actually headlining a certain stage at Download Festival in the UK, which is, you know, the UK's biggest rock and metal festival.
Yeah.
So for us, that's a big deal. To be a UK band that's headlining that stage in particular is awesome. Lots of summer festivals going on. We're in Europe in November, I believe, with Between the Buried and Me and Pliny.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, there's lots of exciting things, but the main thing for me is just the creation of new music. That's always burning in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I could always tell that you guys are like mad scientists in the studio by listening to it. It's like
it's definitely exciting.
Yeah,
Sure.
But Dan, thank you so much for your
You're
time.
welcome, no problem.
Everybody, this is Alex from Heavy New York back at Irving Plaza. Last night of the TesseracT Pliny and Astronoid tour. Pick up TesseracT's latest record, Sonder, and we'll see you next time.